Hello, fellow fantasy baseball fanatics and sports fanatics in general. Welcome to MFSN The Hub's weekly waiver wire special. We're focusing on the Major League Baseball season right now. I am Casey Scheinvold. I'll be with you today. I'm also joined by, as always, Ross the Boss.
Hey everybody, I'm Ross the Boss, and I want to talk fantasy baseball waiver wire with you, Cowboy. Casey, before we start, I want to talk about Kyle Schwarber. This guy from Ohio, Middletown, Ohio, which is part of Hamilton. I'm very familiar with it. I actually know that area like the back of my hand. He is going on a baseball tear that I really haven't seen since Barry Bonds. Let me just tell you about his numbers real quick. Then we'll talk about the waiver wire guys you should be picking up. Unfortunately, Kyle's not available. He's over 60%. But this is what he's been doing the past 2 weeks. These are 2 week stats, Casey. You understand? These are just 2 weeks. These aren't career stats. These are 2 week stats. He's hitting 346, 12 home runs, 19 RBIs, 16 home runs in the last 18 games. Do you think he's an all-star pick this year? I do.
I think he has to be at this point, certainly.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think if you're picking an all-star team, I think Kyle's for sure on your team. I also feel like I haven't seen anything like this since Barry Bonds. And if I'm a pitcher, why in the heck would you throw him a fastball in the strike zone?
Yeah, I've been wondering the same thing. I mean, I don't care who's batting behind you. You don't pitch to that guy.
I mean, he is going to – I mean, if he goes on this pace, and I figured this out, he's going to have 90 home runs if he keeps his pace up.
I'll take the under.
So maybe we'll talk about that and during the break on what people we see having great second halves and you should be focusing on maybe picking up.
I think we should touch on some things like that.
I just had to talk about Kyle Schwarber because I'm just amazed how great he's doing. I know he's a streak hitter. And his streak he's doing right now is unbelievable. It's kind of fun to watch.
It's impressive because he's hitting both righties and lefties. You know, it is fun to watch, and it's fun to talk about players like that. Shohei Ohtani is putting on a show. Who knows what he's going to do tonight? Pitching against the Yankees, he might shut them down after he hit 2 home runs against them yesterday. Like, these are some special times to be a baseball fan for sure. But to get back to the waiver wire show, just to remind our viewers what we do here, we look at players who are owned in less than 60% of Yahoo Fantasy Baseball leagues. We highlight those who are available in at least 40% of the leagues that you can target to help you compete and improve your team, build depth and trade from depth and just make you dominate your competition. We'll go position by position. We might make a few predictions or bold statements here halfway through the show to entertain our guests. But in the meantime, please subscribe to our channel. Click like if you like this video, comment, and ring the bell for notifications. We'll answer any and all questions that come in to the best of our abilities. And hopefully we can help you guys and you can help us. So, Ross, let's start where we always start, at first base. Do you have anybody highlighted at first base?
We started catcher. What do you
No, you want to start a catcher? All right, we'll start a catcher.
We already started a catcher. So let's start a catcher. Luis Torrens of Seattle. He was brought up June 15th. In the past 7 games, he has 5 home runs. He's hitting like 280. The catcher position, as we talk about it all the time, it's a very weak position this year for hitters. I mean, there's the Buster Posies that's having a great year, and there's Perez for Kansas City. There's a few catchers that are doing well, but again, a lot of them are streakers. And I got to say, Luis is actually a huge streaker for right now. And if you need a catcher that's hitting, Torrens is your guy.
I totally agree. I had him on my list. What he's done just since he's been called up is incredible. I think we talked last week about Tyler Stevenson. He's still doing pretty well out there in Cincinnati for you. And Mike Zunino in Tampa Bay is never going to hit for a high average. He never has at any point. The past couple of weeks, he's been hitting for a decent average, but his calling card is power. He can hit home runs in bunches, and he's been doing that the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, he's been great. You know, he's hit the past 2 weeks. He's 286, 5 home runs. That's not bad for a catcher. And he's another streaker. I mean, he had like 3 great weeks, and then he died down. Now he's back up again. So, like you said, Mike Zunino could be a good pickup. And the other catcher I had, he's been starting for Colorado a lot. For the past 2 weeks, he's playing a lot. Is Elise Diaz, and Elise Diaz the past 2 weeks is hitting 333, 3 home runs, and hitting 333 as a catcher for 2 weeks is unbelievable. And he has some power. And he plays in Colorado, which is an easy place for an easy place for hitters to hit. So Diaz could be your guy to pick up at that position if you need a catcher, especially for a streaker.
I agree, although I'd like to point out that the Pittsburgh Pirates have proven that they don't hit very well in Colorado these past couple of days. They got shut down by Freeland on Monday night, and then Herman Marquez last night was within 2 outs of a no-hitter against him. So there is some pitching bright spots in Colorado. We can talk about those, but I think they're both owned enough. I want to point out one other catcher who's not even in the majors. I'm going to focus on some prospects today.
Oh, great.
I know Ross wants to talk about one in a little bit, but I'm going to talk about Corey Lee, the catcher in Houston, as if they needed more firepower. He's been in Double-A for 2 weeks. In his first 12 games there, he's hit 6 homers, 14 runs batted in, and 333 batting average. As if they needed any more firepower. He's doing a great job. I don't know if he's going to get called up, but he's certainly somebody to keep an eye on at the catcher position, because as we've said, every episode, catcher is hard to get fantasy relevance. So if you can find somebody who has potential, scoop them up and see what you can get out of them. All right, Ross, now will you let me talk about first base? Is now okay?
Yes, go ahead. Talk about
as long as you approve. I'm going to even let you go first again.
So somebody that I brought his name up months ago, and he's a top prospect, and then he kind of died down. Now he's hitting again, is Alex Kirilloff. He sounds like a criminal in a James Bond movie, Alex Kirilloff. So Alex Kirilloff, he's hitting 277. Recently, he has a 19% contact rate, which is pretty good. He's been hitting the ball 19% of the time when he swings, which is good for him. And, he's starting to hit the ball. And I know his batting average is 277. It's getting better every week, and he's getting into his potential. And I think right now is a good time to pick him up. I feel the Twins are going to do some trading, and I see that he can probably stay there. I feel the Twins for sure would trade at least a few top prospects, or maybe top guys that are making a ton of money because they want to cut that payroll because they are in last place. And especially during All-Star break, but I think Kirilloff will be staying, and I think he'll be doing really well at least the second half of the season.
Yeah, Kirilloff was an outfielder in the minors, hit over 30 home runs a couple years ago, was in, I think, the top 10 in the prospect rankings at one point, fell off because of injuries and stuff. I don't think Miguel Sano is really the first baseman of the future in Minnesota. So Kirilloff, I think he's a great pickup. He showed it early on in the season before he got hurt, and he seems to be finding his groove again. So that's a good one. I'm looking at some players who qualify at multiple positions. I'm going to name them as first baseman, even though they might be more useful. There's Lamont Wade Jr. in San Francisco. I think he's playing primarily outfield for him, but he qualifies at first base as well. In the past couple of weeks, he's hit
are you talking about junior or senior? Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about junior.
Okay.
He's not as good anymore. He plays.
Okay, I didn't know because I just love when players have junior there. Like the only time I would do that if it was Ken Griffey Jr. or Ken Griffey Sr. when they were playing together in Seattle. That's the only time they should actually have the junior senior logo on their name.
I don't know. I think Vladimir Guerrero Jr. earned his junior moniker.
Guerrero is in the Hall of Fame. There's no reason to have his name on junior.
I think you're a fool on that one, but that's okay. But Wade Jr. is doing Wade Jr. I'm going to just call him Junior because that'll annoy you.
And he's like available like 95% of the leagues, this guy. I mean, I talked about him a few weeks ago, and this guy loves the hit. He's a great hitter. I love this kid.
Everything happening in San Francisco right now is working. Whether it's Steven Duggar, whether it's Kevin Gossman, whether it's Anthony DeSclafani, they're all playing well.
Yeah, so you name it, they have it.
If they have somebody who looks like he's on a hot streak, pick him up because chances are San Francisco's figured out how to make it last. Other than that, I didn't see a lot of first basemen. Who else do you have?
Garrett Cooper came back. He was on the injured reserve for a while. He was hurt. First came back, home run, 2 doubles, not bad. This guy always gets kind of lost in fantasy, and he's always a big producer. I like this kid, and he's not even a kid anymore. He's actually a vet, but he's somebody just came back. If you need a first baseman that can hit, Garrett Cooper could be your guy.
Okay, all right, I'll take your word for it.
And his career batting average is 276.
In today's game, that's a pretty strong batting average. I don't think 20 years ago that was as strong, but today in the 3-outcome society of baseball where it's strikeouts all the time, 277 is impressive. So I'll take it. All right. Second baseman. I have Ty France in Seattle, somebody we've talked about before. He started off the season hot, made a name for himself. Then he cooled off for a bit. Well, it looks like he's hitting again and finding his stride. I believe he's actually on your team in our league.
He's actually, it's funny you said that. He's eligible at first base. He's eligible at third base. He's eligible at second base. I don't know about shortstop, but he actually is on my team. I sat Suarez for the Reds because all he does is strike out. I don't think he can see the ball. I mean, like yesterday I watched the Reds. He struck out four times in a Major League Baseball game. Unbelievable. So Ty France, for me, he's hitting 282. 4 home runs, 6 RBIs the past 2 weeks. It's pretty good. Yep. And, he's multiple players. So, yeah, I agree with you. He's a multiple position guy that can play anywhere that's actually hitting the ball. I like Ty France a lot.
The other guy I have is for Miami is John Birdie. He qualifies at like 4 or 5 different positions. I have him at second, third, short, and the outfield. He's a guy who every year doesn't wow you with the power numbers. He's not going to drive in a ton of runs, but this is a guy who gets on base at a good clip with a good on-base percentage and batting average. He steals bags and he scores runs, and he qualifies all over the field. Those are the guys I love having on my bench, because if I have a day off or I just have somebody who's struggling, a starter like an Eugenio Suarez, it becomes really easy to put somebody like John Birdie in there and feel comfortable about the performance he's going to give you, the numbers he's going to give you. So that he's one of my top pickups this week.
I like that a lot. Another guy I talked about last week, and all this guy does is keep hitting. Another Colorado Rocky, and he's eligible at shortstop too. The reason I said that is this: Trevor Story is going to be traded. He is going to be traded. I talked about it yesterday. There's no way he's going to stay in Colorado. He's making a ton of money. Colorado is not going to make the playoffs. He's going to be free agent next year. So that all being said, Trevor Story's gone. Adios. Out of Colorado by All-Star break. You heard it from me first, Ross the Boss. But that being said, I love Brandon Rogers, and he plays second base and he plays short. He's an everyday second baseman is Brandon Rogers. He plays every day in Colorado. The past 2 weeks, 289 in June alone, and he's eligible, as I mentioned, at shortstop, which he could be the everyday shortstop when Story gets traded. But Brandon Rogers, he can't do wrong. If he's on your team, he's going to help you in every facet. So that's a great pickup.
I agree entirely. The other one is Wilmer Flores, another San Francisco guy who's figured out how to hit. He continues to tear the cover off the ball. Last 2 weeks, 385, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, 9 runs scored. He's contributing everywhere but in speed. Not a guy who you can rely on for the season to win you the league, but certainly somebody you can rely on to fill gaps where you have struggling players and keep you in contention or help you work back into contention before the trade deadline.
Yeah, and Wilmer too, he can play first base. He's eligible. Second base, we just talked about, and he's available at third base. He's a great player to pick up, to have on your bench just in case somebody gets hurt. And he's a streaker. You and I both know that. He's not going to keep this torrid 385 average up for the whole season. There's no way. But again, all these Giants hitters are just hitting. I don't know how they're doing it, but they're winning and they're hitting. So there you go. That's a great pickup. The last one I have is Keston Hiura. Did I say it right?
Keston Hiura. Yeah.
Hiura. He plays for your Milwaukee Brewers. He's available either at first base or second base. The past 2 weeks, he's been hitting he was hurt. He just came back. He's hitting 316 with 3 home runs. Not bad. And I remember when he came up with the Brewers, there was so much hype on him. I don't know if you remember, Japanese guy. A lot of people had a lot of high expectations on him. Then he got hurt. Now he's back. It could be a good pickup for you.
Yeah, I agree. He came up as a prospect with the pedigree of a great hit tool. He was not going to be known for exceptional power, but in Milwaukee, you can hit 20 home runs without exceptional power. So there were really high hopes for him. He struggled with injury in his first couple seasons, and then earlier this year, in the end of the last time he was up, he actually got sent down because he was striking out so much and not making contact. But you're right. This is a guy who has the history and the pedigree of being a great hitter. He's in a groove right now. Let's hope it means it's a habit and that he's going to keep doing it. I think he can help a lot, especially because he can play first and second base for him. So that's a great pickup. Who do you have at shortstop?
So you named him last week, and I've been studying this guy. It's Willie Adams, another Milwaukee Brewer.
Adames,
yeah. Thank you. Willie Adames was traded early in the season from Tampa Bay. Willie Adam. I want to call him Willie Ames. I don't know why I want to call him Willie Ames, but I just do. So his nickname right now is Willie Ames.
That's what we'll call him.
Ames. I know it's Adamas. Don't get mad, but we're calling him Willie Ames. Willie Ames, in the month of June, since he's been with the Brewers, he's hitting 286, which is good. It's very good for a shortstop. He loves playing Milwaukee. So in Milwaukee, he's hitting 286. And if he keeps it up, what he's doing in Milwaukee is he'll have 25 home runs. I figured all this stuff out. He'll have 25 home runs, 111 RBIs, 74 runs scored. And that's not bad for a shortstop. So,
yeah. And he can chip in stolen bases too.
Yeah, that guy can run too. He's not a slow guy. So Willie Ames, for me, is if you need a shortstop, if you don't have one of the top tier shortstops.
Oh, Willie Ames.
Willie Ames is a great pickup. I'd rather have him than a lot of guys that are starting on your team.
Yeah, I have him on my one league where I've been living with Adalberto Mondesi on the bench. So
yeah, I mean,
Adames has been a godsend for me to help cover my shortstop position. If you have somebody like Corey Seager, who just got transferred to the 60-day DL,
I saw that,
and you can get Adames, scoop him up, put him there, and you'll feel okay. See, I think, and Ross, this is to take us off topic, but I think it's an interesting discussion. Ironically, the two teams I see Trevor Story going to are the Dodgers or the Brewers. I see Trevor Story going to make up for Corey Seager being out for so long and just being the team that can help them catch the Giants and run away from it.
They're one game behind the Giants, but go on.
Or going to the Brewers, playing maybe third base for this year, and giving them a chance to advance to the World Series. Could you imagine that lineup if Yelich recovers or gets healthy again, to go with Adames and Story and Avisail Garcia and Keston Hiura? Colton Wong's doing a good job right now. You throw Woodruff and Corbin Burns at him, and then you have Devin Williams and Josh Hader at the back end of that. That would be a scary team I wouldn't want to face.
I'm not disagreeing. Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers love picking up superstars middle of the season and putting them in their lineup. I totally agree with you there, and the Dodgers really don't care about money. So
right,
that'd be a great pickup for the Dodgers.
And ironically, Story won't be that expensive. He's a free agent at the end of the year. You'd have to pay more to get somebody like German Marquez, who's a really good pitcher, but has 3 years of control left. So you might not have to give up a top-level prospect.
That's a great theory. But he's like, if I had to pick any player in the league to be traded by All-Star break, he's my number one pick.
Yeah, I think he's up there. Absolutely. I would put some Twins up there too. Maybe Kenta Maeda, maybe
I think
Josh Donaldson could be traded.
Cruz could be
Nelson
traded.
Cruz. Yeah, because they're scuffling too. So
yeah,
all right.
I don't think anybody wants Donaldson. He's not having a great year, and he's overpaid, and
he's certainly not he's kind of persona non grata with a lot of teams with the way he's kind of talked about pitchers and the whole controversies here.
Lucas Giolito had a lot to say about him yesterday.
Yeah, I liked what he said though. That was pretty smart of him to say. Say it to my face.
Dan Ratner coached him and told him what to say, and he said it.
Wow, Dan. He ghosts us and then he leaves us to talk about him. Okay. Yeah. The only other one is Miles Straw. I know he plays the outfield a lot in Houston, but he qualifies at shortstop. We've talked about him last week. But he's another guy who's going to, in the last 2 weeks, he has 4 steals and 9 runs scored while batting over 300. That steals is worth its weight in gold certainly in rotisserie fantasy baseball. So that's a player who, even with the mediocre at best and paltry power numbers, can still be somebody who makes a difference in your lineup. So he would be the other shortstop I would mention. Who else do you have?
I also have Kiki Hernandez. The past 2 weeks, he's hitting 324, 3 home runs. He could play multiple positions. I know he's an outfielder. I know he plays shortstop. I think he plays second base also in Yahoo leagues. But he's somebody that if you need somebody that's first and that you need a shortstop, he's a streaker. Pick him up for maybe a week and then maybe you have to dump him. But he's a guy that's going to be hitting for you for the next 7 days. Another guy that you talked about last week, and I just was curious to see what he was doing in the minors. I just looked it up. Is Bobby Witt. I'm not saying Bobby Witt Jr.
Junior.
No, it's not Junior.
I love that guy.
If his dad was playing actively in Major League Baseball, I would say Junior.
So let me ask you this. How do you feel about like Sandy Alomar Jr.? Because his dad was a manager at the time he was a player.
I would say, if you're talking about the man hitting like in a game today, I would say Sandy Alomar. You know his dad's not going to be. If you know anything about sports, you know his dad was not playing and was retired for
I think
years.
we have a
His son
whole
was
new
playing.
rant for next week. It's
Roberto
the
Alomar.
junior
Jr. I
senior
mean, there's
rant.
so many guys. No, his name is Bobby Witt. His own junior. His dad's is a pitcher, first of all.
Hey, I saw his birth certificate. It had a junior on there.
So Bobby Witt he's playing double A, not triple A. They haven't brought him up yet to play triple A. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense, but we'll keep going. In 22 games, he's hitting 326, 17 RBIs, and 8 home runs. That's what Bobby Witt is hitting as a player. And Mondesi's hurt. So they're going to have to make a decision in Kansas City. Do we bring him up now? Or do we wait a whole nother year? And we talked about this and just waiting on these guys to develop and get better. And
I have to be honest. I don't see Bobby Witt Jr. coming up this year because they're in like last place by a landslide.
Yeah.
They're so far out of it. It doesn't make sense for them to burn a year of control.
That's why you bring them up.
It doesn't make sense. Kansas City's not a big budget team. If he signs, I'll tell you this. I think if Bobby Witt Jr. is willing to sign a team-friendly extension right now, they would call him up. Unless he does that, they're going to wait.
No, there's no extensions. There's nothing. You just bring him up, have him play. If he plays great, you'll give him the extension. If he can't hit, then you don't give him extension.
Okay.
I mean, he hasn't faced major league pitching. All of a sudden, he's getting extensions.
Well, they've done that with a lot of players before.
No, it's not happening with Bobby Witt.
Okay, Bobby Witt Jr.
No, take that out of your itinerary. Okay, well, okay, fine. With Bobby Witt, he should be in major leagues. He should be at least getting some at bats. Hopefully by August, we'll see what happens.
All right, I'm rooting for. I'd love to see the kid. I don't see why Kansas City would call him up. All right, third baseman, go.
J.D. Davis been hurt almost the whole year. Casey Scheinfeld, he hasn't done anything. He's going to do rehab, not for drugs, for his physical injury. It's funny when they say like a player's going to do rehab. I always think like, oh God, he has a drug problem, but it's about rehab. Like he's going to the minor league facility to get some playing and some at bats. So JD Davis is going to go to Florida and he's going to be playing for the single A Met squad next week. And he should be by All-Star break. He should be playing third base again for your first place New York Mets. So JD Davis, he had a great year like last year, like the last half of the year last year. And it was a short season, but he was great. I mean, he did unbelievable. So, I mean, and third base is kind of a position this year where it's like a lot of guys are not performing where they should be performing. I thought Josh Donaldson is one of them. Alec Baum of the Phillies is another one, another guy that's bombing. So it's like.
I'd still pick him up, though.
Of course you would. But J.D. Davis, I like a lot. I mentioned him last week. I know he's dying down a little bit, but in the past 2 weeks, he's hitting 297, 2 home runs, 13 RBIs. Is Abraham Toro.
Yeah, and Bregman's not coming back anytime soon,
he's not,
so he's going to keep playing.
Toro is an up and down hitter. He did horrible, and then he came back, and now he's hitting again. So Toro at third base, it's a chancy bet, but he's a streaker. Streaker. 297 the past 2 weeks, not bad.
And your boy Jonathan India, I know we've talked about him before, but he's starting to figure it out. And there was a reason he was a highly touted prospect coming into the season, and they didn't even start him in the minors. There's a reason they gave him the job. They saw the talent. They were starting him early on. He struggled, but I think he just had to figure it out, and it seems like he did. The last couple of weeks, 283, couple stolen bases, 12 runs scored. He's not hitting for the power yet, but that'll come. I'm not worried about that.
I love watching him play. As you know, I'm an avid Reds fan. I'm wearing right now. And
the wristband,
and as you know, India is our starting second baseman, but he also leads off for the Reds. He's our leadoff hitter, so he gets a lot of at bats, and he's fun to watch. Great hitter. I love his mullet. Probably the best mullet in baseball. He's unbelievable. If you don't have him, you should pick him up unless you have some unbelievable stars at second base.
So I was thinking before we get to the outfielders, we like to break it up in the middle and offer some unique commentary. I was thinking about bold fantasy projections for what is essentially the second half of the season. Either players who've done well, who are going to fall off the shelf, players who've struggled, players who are injured. Who do you think are going to be what are some bold difference-making projections you can offer?
I say Ohtani has 60 home runs. What do you think about that projection?
Whoa.
What do you think about that?
Well, he's up to 28. I mean, it's bold. Don't get me wrong. I'm rooting for it.
But the second half of the season, players get tired. Players get hurt.
Could you imagine if he ends up with 60 home runs and like 15 wins as a pitcher with like under three,
and he
like
loses the MVP? That'd be the best.
It would be the first time a position player has won MVP and Cy Young in the same year. I think you just give him all the awards.
I mean,
kowtow.
I think Babe Ruth would have won it,
awesome.
but there was no Cy Young award back then because Cy Young was still pitching.
I like that I like that. That would be awesome.
I want to see Ohtani I would love to see Ohtani do this. Can we do this? 20 wins, 60 home runs.
20 wins, 60. I don't think he's going to get to 20 because I think he has like single digits right now, but that would be awesome.
You said bold predictions. That's my bold prediction.
Hey. Yeah, but 60 on its own is bold. You went like
I'm doing 60-20, just throwing it out there because it'd be a feat that will never be broken ever again in Major League Baseball. Ever.
How about the St. Louis Cardinals end up with the same infield on the left side that the Colorado Rockies had last year? They trade for Trevor Story. They give him let's say they give him Nolan Gorman, their top third base prospect. He goes to St. Louis, teams up with Goldschmidt and Arenado and hits 45 home runs and leads them through the playoffs. I think that would be amazing, but that's not a fantasy projection. My fantasy projection is Byron Buxton comes back sometime in July and still reaches 30-30, even though he's been on the injured list 3 different times for what was it? His quad, his calf, his wrist. Now he's got a boxer's fracture. I mean, the guy's been hurt all the time, but I'm still predicting he's going to go 30-30.
That's a bold prediction, but it could happen. My other bold prediction is Jesse Winker for the Cincinnati Reds will win the batting title in the National League, and he'll have 30 home runs. How about that, Casey Scheinfold?
I actually like that. I mean, he's already at 19 home runs, so 30 home runs he'll do pretty easy. I mean, he's just proven that he's an amazing hitter. The batting title is going to be a challenge. I mean, he's going against some pretty great hitters in the National League.
He's going against his teammate, Nick Castellanos.
Oh, absolutely.
Winning the league right now. But it's going. I never said it's going to be easy. I mean, to win a batting title, as you know, unless you're 20 Gwynn, it's a very tough feat to do. It's unbelievable. It's very tough.
Sure. How about, let's see, what's another good bold prediction?
Oh, do you want more?
Wait, I have a bold prediction.
Talking about bold predictions. My bold prediction is Dr. Dan Ratner will make an appearance on the show today.
And to tell us what he told us that he was right about. I feel a slew of I told you so's coming on right now. So
let's all pat him on the back and tell him what a genius he is.
Yes, please. I mean, I just drove like 10 hours.
Mean, you did straight here. You did say Ian Happ's going to win the Triple Crown this year. I don't think they're going to win that prediction, are you?
No, but Ian Happ is one of my favorite predictions. I predicted him to be terrible. I knew Hunter Dozier was just nobody to own, but Wander Franco, I predicted he would be up. Here he is. I called it.
He's not really hitting that well, Dr. Dan Ratner. He's hitting.
Oh, please.
He's hitting. I think a weight of a horse jockey right now. I don't think he's.
So you mean 40 points below league average?
Everybody, he might get waived off my team soon. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, now this is the thing. This is what I'm trying to say, Ross. You overcorrect too fast. Yeah. You're like, like right now, you're probably like Kyle Schwarber is like I'll trade anyone for him.
We talked about Kyle.
Well, listen, Kyle Schwarber is going to end up on your waiver wire. That's my prediction.
Oh, no.
That's a bold
Casey and I were
prediction.
very clear that he's a streaker. We made it very clear.
Okay.
It would be hard.
Just making sure.
It would be hard to drop him entirely.
Oh, not yet.
It'd be hard. I mean, Dan, you know his stats, right? Can I tell you the stats again? You want to hear them?
They're absurd.
Let me just tell you the stats again.
Ross likes his stats, Dan.
Wait, I have to find them. I don't know what to do with all this. I have so many freaking stats. But basically, he's hitting in the past. I know him by heart. So he's basically hitting 346 for the past 2 weeks, 12 home runs, 19 RBIs. And if he keeps this streak up, he's going to have 90 home runs for the season.
Okay,
90 home runs, Dr. Dan.
And I'm not saying that he should be cut, but I think people are going to get impatient with him when things go bad, in some way.
Well, that's true with any player. I mean,
no, it's not true with any player. If things go bad with Mike Trout, you keep him.
Yeah, Francisco Lindor hasn't exactly been lighting up Dan's team this year.
No, he has been lighting up my team in a bad
way. So Dan, we're talking about bold predictions. We talked about Ohtani. I said,
well, I think Schwarber on the waiver wire is a pretty bold prediction at this point.
That's a pretty bold prediction.
In a month and a half, we'll revisit. I think he's going to be on a lot of waiver wires.
And and I predicted. I said Ohtani's going to have 60 home runs and 20 wins.
Not a chance in either way.
That's what makes it bold. I said Buxton, despite his injuries, is still going to be 30-30 at the end of the year.
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
Here's a bold prediction that I don't like. Mike Trout not coming back this year. I could just see the injuries nagging. I would hate that. I would hate to see it.
I don't see it. He's such a game player.
He's been dying to have somebody of equal value to him in the lineup for years. He finally gets one, and it's the first time he's ever hurt.
He loves baseball, and he loves playing. And
it won't be because he doesn't want to get back. I worry he's going to have a setback. I hope I'm wrong.
I'll give you guys another prediction. I said this before, and I love it when Dan gets all upset at me when I say it. I say Chris Sale won't have a win this year in Major League Baseball.
Okay, Chris Sale is going to have 2 wins in July.
You said 10 wins. Now he has 2 wins.
No, just in July he said 2 wins.
He'll finish with 10 wins.
Oh, we'll see. Chris Sale won't have a win. You guys heard it from me.
No, actually, he's not going to finish with 10, but he will finish with 8.
Should we talk about outfielders?
Let's talk about outfielders. I can only stay for a little bit. I just ran in from out of town, but I wanted to make sure
love to
represent.
Great seeing you like usual. We're having a great show. It's actually going a lot better when Casey does the show, actually. But we'll talk about that.
How dare you, sir? I knew that was going to happen. I leave for 1 week, and look what happens.
2 weeks.
1.5.
1.5. That's right.
So Dan, you probably aren't prepped to name any outfielders. You got one for us?
Well, I'll try, but I don't know the percentage of ownership. But
just say a name, we'll tell you.
Andrew McCutchen. What's his ownership?
I don't know. I'll look it up for you.
Because Andrew McCutchen is tearing it up the last month. I scooped him up in our head-to-head.
I want to say he's over 60. I could be wrong. Doesn't matter. But I mean,
it's going to be close. If I had to guess, I'd guess he's at 63%.
Look up Andrew McCutchen.
He's at 68%.
Oh, not bad.
I just hate the fantasy team he's playing for.
Who is it? Oh, I know who
the Phillies?
Joe Boo's Rum.
Yeah. Oh, that team.
We don't like that team. So let me mention, because you're online, I want to mention a Cleveland Indian I talked about before, who used to be on the Marlins. Now he's on the Indians. It's Harold Ramirez. Harold Ramirez was waived by the worst team in baseball.
Is he a junior?
Marlins. There's no junior. So he's hitting, not for the 2 weeks, Case Steinfeld, but for the season, he's hitting 307. So he's not going to hurt you in batting average at all, this guy, Harold Ramirez. He's hitting great. He has a little power, has some RBIs, he score runs, he can run, he's fast. So if you need an outfielder that's not going to really hurt you in any category, Harold Ramirez is your man.
I got another one. You ready?
I'm listening.
This is probably 60% and under. Jake Fraley. Ross and I talked about him before.
Is he?
Yeah, we talked about him last week, too.
Is he hurt?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I thought he was hurt.
We talked about him last week because he gives you speed.
Well, you know what else is amazing about Jake Fraley? He has 26 walks and 26 strikeouts. That's insane.
Okay, his batting average has slumped in the last 2 weeks, but he's gotten 5 stolen bases, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs, and 14 runs scored, but he's only 11% owned.
Yeah, and meanwhile, if you're in a head-to-head league that values on-base percentage, scoop this guy up.
Or stolen bases. Casey, who's your outfielder?
Well, Adam Duvall is still tearing the cover off the ball there in Miami. He's still giving you power and RBIs and batting average. And Hunter Renfroe in Boston is playing really well right now, and so he's really somebody who you can own and feel confident with. That Boston team up and down the lineup is just putting the hurting on people. And so he's getting RBIs, he's getting runs scored. He's got 3 home runs or 3 home runs the last 2 weeks, and he's batting .341. So in every category but steals, he's gonna chip in pretty handily. And
I have no problem with you guys owning those players, but just know they're gonna end up back on your wire, probably. I mean,
but we're talking about people that they may have some players on their team that are not performing. They need to pep up and get some players that can.
Yeah, no, look, there's nothing wrong with picking up what we call.
There's players that are not performing, and it drives me crazy when I have players on my team.
Yeah, I'm not going to avoid that.
I'll give you an example, like Sterling Marte. hasn't had a hit in 5 games. He's like 0 for 30.
Starling Sharp too.
Sterling Marte is going to be traded to the White Sox.
Sterling Marte doesn't even exist, not in baseball. But Starling Marte has been terrible.
Starling Marte. So Starling Marte hasn't hit the ball in weeks.
Yep.
So he's benched, but you may want to pick somebody up. And
I'm looking at guys like I have Christian Yelich, who's starting to hit a little bit lately, but he's been a colossal disappointment this year.
What a disaster.
If I could put Adam Duvall in until he figures it out, or Hunter Renfroe until he figures it out, you're right, Dan. We're not talking about guys who are owned must start for the season, unless you're in one of maybe Sam Jacobowicz's leagues where Juan Soto might be on the waivers.
The pretend league where it's not really a league. It's just in his mind, it's his own league. It's not
he just picks his. It's like when you would play like a video game where you can control and force a trade, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to give you this guy for Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, and Mike Trout.
Speaking of, I told you so's, Juan Soto, not a top 5 outfielder.
No.
But
if you're in a dynasty league, how many other outfielders would you trade him for right now?
Oh, he's a top 5 outfielder in a dynasty league.
Yeah, of course.
So, let
me give you guys some guys I have not mentioned all season for outfield.
Oh, drop some knowledge.
So Cole Calhoun is coming back for your Arizona Diamondbacks. He's been hurt all year, and when Cole's healthy, he's a good hitter. I mean, he can really hit the ball hard and far. So Cole, if you want to pick somebody up, you have a big roster, big bench. Cole Calhoun could be a good one. Another guy that I loved watching his dad play. His dad was one of my favorite players back in the day. He plays for your
Honus
Detroit Tigers.
Wagner.
His dad's Cameron. His dad was Mike Cameron.
Mike Cameron,
and
senior.
And Dad Cameron, in the past 14 games, he has 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases. In the minors, he had like 35 stolen bases. He was just tearing it up. He's a fast guy and he has a little power. But Daz Cameron is kind of a fun player to pick up. I mean, he can run, he can steal, he can hit. I mean, he's a guy that's going to give you 110%, and I love watching his dad play. So if you need an outfielder and you want some excitement, Daz Cameron could be your guy.
Now, for those people out there and who caught that shrewd joke I made, I said Ross was watching his father, Honus Wagner. Ross, that is a big-time insult. Are you going to let me get away with that?
No, my Honus Wagner is in the Hall of Fame.
Well, sure, but if I'm saying you watched him, you're like 120 then.
Maybe I'm a time traveler. Maybe I
on.
travel
Could
time.
be.
Maybe Casey and I travel time, and we see them playing in person. How do you know what we do?
Well,
all right, we got about 5 minutes left, so I want to get some pictures for our viewers.
Okay, go.
Ross, give me a couple starters to
So
target.
I'll give you guys I haven't mentioned all year. I watched this guy pitch on Saturday against the Cincinnati Reds. He plays for Atlanta's Kyle Mueller. Kyle Mueller he broke a record he broke a national record in high school for strikeouts. He had like 24 strikeouts in like 2 games or something crazy, some crazy stat. But this kid is a big Texas kid. He pitched for the Braves on Saturday. He pitched 5 innings, gave up 1 hit, had 9 strikeouts. He's pitching again on Saturday. Kyle, this guy's the real deal. He's 23 years old. He's somebody that I picked up in some leagues. I'm going to hold on to. We'll see what happens.
All right, wait. I want to interject, Casey. I'm sorry because I have to run after this. So I'm going to give you one. I'm just going to give you a pitcher that I like. James Caprillion.
Yeah.
You guys know this guy on the A's?
On the A's, yeah. He's pitching today.
The Yankees traded him. Brilliant.
But I love
his
anybody.
ERA's under 3. He's a good pitcher. I like.
Don't worry, Dan. You don't have to talk. Ross will just
talk
for you.
Yeah, why? Well, I mean, you only have me for another minute. Let's just let somebody else talk. I'm kidding. Guys, it is a pleasure to see you all, and I don't just mean Ross and Casey. I mean all of you out there. Very excited to be back, and I will see you next week. Thanks, guys.
Adios, Dr. Dan.
All right.
That's Dr. Dan Ratner calling us live
Signing
from
off.
Cleveland, Ohio. He's out of here. So nice he called in. Let me, Casey, what pitchers do you like?
I want to talk about 2 primarily, and I think we've talked about him before, but Johnny Cueto in San Francisco.
Okay.
I must be a Giants lover right now because I feel like I'm naming all of them, but he's been pitching great. This is a guy who's proven he can do it time in and time out. He's never been a pitcher who's relied on velocity to win, which is usually a good trait for being effective later into your career. I know he's an older pitcher, but the last 2 weeks, 13 innings, a 2.08 ERA, a 0.92 whip. He's doing it on, he's controlling the amount of people who get on base and keeping runs down. He's striking out a little less than a batter per inning, but still pretty close. And then Ross Stripling seems to be tearing
I love
tearing
his
it up
name.
there
What's
in
his first name
Toronto.
again? I didn't get the first name.
Ross Stripling.
How do you spell?
Ross. It's an older name given to people who tend to not be cool, but we like Mr. Stripling. So he's doing a great job there in Toronto, but it's up in Canada, so you can be a Ross up there and still be liked.
Well, they play in Buffalo, but keep going.
17 innings, 19 strikeouts, less than a 3 ERA, less than a 1 WHIP. He's pitching really well. Not a guy you can rely on week in and week out to always dominate, but somebody who, when the matchups are right or when he's on a streak like this, is somebody you have to pitch. And then one other player, I want to reach into the minors. I talked earlier about Corey Lee in Houston as a catcher. I want to talk about Shane Baz, who is a pitcher for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, as if they're not producing enough studs right now. They have a pitcher who in AAA right now, he has 46 innings, 69 Ks to 5 walks with a 2 ERA and a .77 WHIP. They lost Glass now for what appears to be the season. They always are pretty creative with their pitching. I think Shane Baz is a guy who's going to be called up here pretty soon. And if he pitches in the majors, 80% of how well he's pitching in the minors right now, he could really contribute to your team going into the All-Star break and down the second half of the season.
I'm picking him up right now. Another guy I like, starter, pitches actually for the Miami Marlins, another Marlin. They're unbelievable with the minor league system down there. Is Zach Thompson. Zach Thompson,
Yep.
5 innings, scoreless innings against Atlanta, 4 scoreless innings against the Braves. Against the Cubs. He is pitching great. I know his minor league stats are horrible, but at some reason the majors, he's pitching great.
His last 10 innings, he has 18 strikeouts. That's crazy.
Just unbelievable. But let's get to relief pitchers. I know we're running out of time. The first one I want to bring up, a big apology, because I never appreciated him until now, is Amir Garrett. Horrible past 2 months. For some reason, because the Reds' injuries, the Reds have some injuries in the bullpen, so Amir is our closer. Amir has 2 saves this week. He's striking out people like crazy. He's under pressure. He looks great. He's going to be the closer in Cincinnati for at least 2 weeks until Lucas Sims gets healthy. And I feel that Amir Garrett, maybe his head's straight. Maybe his head's on straight. Good time to pick him up. And Casey, who do you like as relief pitchers?
I don't have any other who are really saves guys, but Devin Williams in Milwaukee is under 60% owned. After his numbers last year and the way he's been pitching lately, I don't understand that. He strikes out almost 2 batters per inning. His whip is a little high right now, but he's not allowing runs in. And JP Fireeisen, who was in Milwaukee, is now traded to Tampa Bay as part of that Willy Adames trade. He's another guy who doesn't allow base runners, doesn't allow runners in, strikes out a batter per inning, is pretty reliable for them. And Tampa Bay is notorious for mixing and matching with saves, so he could even sneak in a save every once in a while. So those would be the 2 relievers.
They don't really have a closer there. Joe Girardi, who's your ex-Yankee manager, said Sunday that Jose Alvarado is their closer. And I don't know if that's going to be true.
I think then Sunday he blew the save, didn't he?
That's my next thing I'm saying is he did blow the save on Sunday, and Archie Bradley come in and got the save. And that all being said, I have no idea who the closer is in Philadelphia anymore, but he did say it's Alvarado. So you may want to pick Alvarado up just for a little bit and see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, I would probably for a while avoid any Philadelphia reliever, but if you're desperate for saves, there was many years ago, Fernando Rodney. I'm sure you remember him.
I love it. We were the hat. He had the hat like crooked.
Yeah, and he always did the bow and arrow thing.
Yeah, I like Rodney.
But he always had like a 2-something whip. Like he would crush your whip, but he would get you 25 to 30 saves. If you're desperate for saves, the Philadelphia bullpen is kind of like the Fernando Rodney today. So, that is all the time we have. 2 more quick ones. Whoa, more. Okay.
So really quick, I'll make it quick. Detroit Tigers, it's a mess there. Fulmer's hurt. He's not going to be playing for a few weeks. So Jose Sonero or Gregory Soto are going to be the closers. They haven't decided yet, but if you need saves, you may want to pick one of those guys up just so you have some save guys. I don't know.
All right. Dropping knowledge at the final minute. I love it. Right up to the bell. Ross is providing insight.
Coach, the way I said that is because the relief pitchers, and if you need saves in your league, you get desperate. Like me, I get desperate. I'm like a desperate guy.
Yeah, if you don't draft a lot of closers early or
so
sharp with the waiver wire early on.
Everybody out with some closer ideas. Who knows if they'll work? But at least you pick them up before other people will pick them up. So there you go.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Again, please subscribe to our channel, click like on our videos, ring the bell for notifications, and leave comments as much as you'd like. We promise to get back to them. Thank you for listening. It was a pleasure bringing you this information, wishing you nothing but the most dominant success on your fantasy baseball team for the rest of the year. And we will see you again next week.
As a reward for making Gilcliff the undisputed clean energy drink of America and beyond, we've packed in more B vitamins, electrolytes, and killer taste than ever. And as a bonus, we've made the ultimate loyalty program. It's not a cult, it's not a club, it's the Gilcliff Cult Club. Tap into special offers like flash sales and exclusive merch, deep discounts, and eternal awesomeness. Go to Gilcliff.com to get your discounts on.